what can we do to give people a safe, climate-controlled environment with the knowledge that they are not putting themselves in a position of being incarcerated for simply trying to get sleep.
They are a very large bus, and it is purple, so you can't miss us.
They're going to be assigned a pod. There's going to be a fresh t-shirt there for them and a fresh pair of socks.
You look down the row, and there's 20 places to sleep.
With curtains that shut to give them some privacy. Each unit has a security guard. It has a driver, and then it has cameras at both ends.
Until they have made a reservation, they're not going to know where we're going to pick them up.
It's like a hotel. You make a reservation for up to 3 nights. In Brevard County, that's 60 beds, 3 buses. And last year, we, and just through Matthew's Hope, registered 1,753 people. So we're trying to give as many opportunities to people to be able to get a night's rest. And we're not done with it yet. We need a whole lot more host sites. We come in as the sun is going down, so very quietly, and as that sun starts to peak over the horizon, we are pulling out. They will either be taken back to where we got them, or if it's an outreach day, they will be brought into outreach so they can get the showers, the haircuts, the laundry service, the medical care, the mental health care, all the other things that we offer.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tracy Lewis from Imagine Marketing. I'm joined by Pastor Scott, who is the CEO and founder of Matthew's Hope, as well as Shelley Bradford, who is the president and executive director of Matthew's Hope. Welcome to this week's episode of Street Talk No BS with Matthew's Hope, presented by Imagine Marketing. At Imagine Marketing, we put in the extra effort to craft a tailored strategy for success. This podcast is produced, filmed, and edited by John Burkett with Imagine. Book a free consultation today. In this episode, we will be talking about the much-anticipated rollout of Matthew's Hope Sleeper Bus program here in Brevard County. Scott, it has been a while since we have first announced the Sleeper Bus program, so let's refresh our listeners on some basics. How did the idea for mobile sleeper buses come about?
Oh my gosh. Years ago, when Matthew's Hope first started, we were looking at different ways to be creative in the marketplace. We looked at what it would look like to take a bus, a coach, if you will, and convert that into a sleeping quarters, what that might look like. We had seen that being used by churches. We had seen that used by various groups over the years. So that was an idea. We looked at what it would look like to have a mobile shower. And so we went through a whole lot of different things of drawing things out, nothing fancy. For me to say I designed a plan, typically meant on a piece of paper, I drew something like what it was supposed to kind of look like. And the truth is, back then, the greatest need at that time was a shower trailer. We had initially thought we would take it all over the place, and it ended up, because we found a home, it stayed on the same pad for the first few years of our existence. But that's really where it started. We've always tried to, at Matthew's Hope, try to get outside the box and try to find out what the greatest need. Back 16 years ago, the sleeping quarters of that type weren't as important as the showers were. Plus, it costs a whole lot more to do a sleeper bus than it would do the shower. Mm. So those all played into being, and when we were given an opportunity to look at that again back into 2024, mm-hmm. We said, yeah, that's on our radar. That's something we want to do.
Nice. And Shelley, can you give our listeners a virtual tour of these sleeper buses? What do they look like and what is inside of them?
Sure. They are a very large bus, and it is purple, so you can't miss us, which is awesome. And then when you walk in, you walk up the steps, and you look down the row, and there's 20 places to sleep, so 20 pods. So each individual person is going to have their own controls for being able to charge their phones. They're going to have a clean place to sleep. Can they control their
air?
Yeah,
flow.
their airflow. And so to be able to go on the bus and just have a good night's sleep, and it's going to be nice and clean, and just to be able to rest.
The inside of it, when I pictured it, years ago, came from my grandfather was a conductor on a railroad. And long story short, I always had an interest in trains when I was a kid. And though he did freight trains and things like that, um, I was fascinated by the fact that people got on a train and slept. So if you look at the inside of our sleeper buses, it looks exactly like what I saw years ago as a kid, with a couple of bunks, with curtains that shut to give them some privacy, and and a place to sleep. And to me, when HB 1365 came around at the end of 2024, October,
Which is the anti-camping, right?
which was the anti-camping law, which, let's call it what it really is. It's the anti-sleeping law. There's nothing about it that's like camping. If anybody's been homeless, and if you haven't, let me just tell you, I have. It's nothing like going camping. So I wish they would just quit trying to soften it and make it sound pretty, because there's nothing pretty about it. All that said, what at that time, it seemed like the immediate time for a response of what can we do to give people a safe, climate-controlled environment, with the knowledge that they are not putting themselves in a position of being incarcerated for simply trying to get sleep.
And it's safe.
And it's very safe. I mean, each unit has, we have 3. We just bought our 4th, which will go into Orange County. The first 3 are for Brevard County. We just bought our 4th, so it will be going in production as we speak. But each unit has a security guard, it has a driver, and then it has cameras at both ends. So our management team, anywhere in the world we're at, we can look onto those buses at any given time. I'll also say, from a safety standpoint, is that we background check every single person that walks on our property. And so therefore, to make a reservation to stay on that, we know who you are. It's not anybody you can just walk on. It doesn't work that way. It's like a hotel. You make a reservation for up to 3 nights.
And take us through the logistics of one of these sleeper buses. Who drives them? Where do they park? How do you determine who gets a spot each night?
Well, I mean, we have professional drivers. Here's what's very interesting for you folks that travel. Next time the road that I'm going to give you is that we see a lot of in Florida is 95 or I-4. Those are I-75. Next time you're traveling down the major highway and you see a massive coach, ours are 45 feet long, weigh 37,000 pounds when we're finished with them. But next time you see that 95-year-old driver on that thing and he's dragging his boat and his car behind it, just know this: it's now an RV. He has no special license or training to do that. Which
Scary.
to me
blows
is
my mind.
that is absolutely insane to me. We require that they have a CDL license, and then there's additional things to that CDL license, to where they are allowed to carry passengers. These all the different certifications that people can get, that though we're not required to have that we've required to have, because my feelings are, if you've ever been to a U-Haul place or rented a U-Haul truck, you'll often notice the corners of the front corners are either crushed or missing. And that's because of people that, again, have been untrained to drive a vehicle that's not nearly the size of what we're dealing with. And so, yeah, we have those requirements. We also have on our staff a certified trainer. I'd love to say Jeff of all trades, who we hired a while back, that we hired him for that purpose. But a side benefit to Jeff Wilson, who works for us, is that he is a trainer on driving coaches. So that's a real benefit for us as well. So we have spent a lot of time. Unfortunately, it takes a lot of time to get a project like this off the ground. We started it, like I said, at the end of 2024, and we just now put them into service.
Yeah, it's been a labor of love for sure.
It has to be a labor of love. Yeah. Dealing with government agencies, law enforcement, you name it, zoning issues. There's been so many things, and we're not done with it yet. We need a whole lot more host sites. And we're striving to get those, but we're also working with Orange County on some zoning changes and different things that, again, don't make sense to me. when you consider a law was put into place, going on 2 years ago now, that allows people to be incarcerated, that when that law was put into place, it also stated when Tallahassee shoved that down the throat of the county and cities across Florida, it was it was a mandated, unfunded mandated law. And so we're having to work within that also. So they're enforcing the one aspect of it, of incarceration. We're just not doing what the other part was supposed to be, was to connect people to services.
And Shelley, where will these buses pick guests up and where will they park for the night?
So it will be a mystery. We are actually not going to tell people where until they have made a reservation. They're not going to know where we're going to pick them up, and then we're going to have host sites every night.
And the host sites are undisclosed.
Right,
Excuse me,
right.
are undisclosed as well, because we don't want people just to show up.
Yeah, right.
Makes
Okay,
sense.
they sleep 20. If somebody knocked on the door, they're not getting on. But also for the security of everybody involved, they have to go through the proper channels to get on board.
I love how secure you guys are doing this. What kind of support from the community will you need to make for these buses to be successful? Like, do you have volunteers to clean them?
Yeah.
Do you need more host sites?
We absolutely need more host sites. We're actually in the process right now of hiring people in addition to our guests that can earn points by cleaning them. We need more than that. So we're actually interviewing people right now that will be on there to clean them 6 days a week. These run 6 days a week.
Okay.
So they leave out Sunday evening, they come back Monday morning, they go through a cleaning process. If it's the same people and the sheets are okay, we'll leave them. If not, we'll change them. But give an example. What happens is, first they make a reservation. And that reservation allows them up to 3 nights. The reason we did that was science has proven it takes about 3 days for your body clock to reset itself. Most of these people that we deal with are sleep deprived. They have not had a good night rest in a long time. So that's one aspect of it. Also, in Brevard County, that's 60 beds, 3 buses. And last year, and just through Matthew's Hope, registered 1,753 people. So we're trying to give as many opportunities to people to be able to get a night's rest. But I want people to understand, too, is we don't believe this to be the answer to homelessness. It is a stepping stone to get them connected to the services they need that we can offer through Matthew's Hope and other organizations we partner with.
And how will these buses integrate into your outreach days and mobile team services, Shelley?
Well, so what my vision is, and I haven't been involved in all of the communications, but what my vision is on the days that we have outreach, we'll bring people here to get showers, and then we've had somebody on our staff that spent the night with them, and they'll tell us what is their demeanor, and they'll see that this person really might be a good candidate to talk to move forward for our Moving Forward program. I think that is what we mean by a stepping stone, is we're going to watch these people. How do they interact? A lot of times when we've had shelters, that's how we've identified people to be able to join our Moving Forward program.
That's like a great opportunity to get to know them a little better.
Yeah.
Well, and that's it. Some of our best successes come when we've opened up as a hurricane shelter or as a cold weather shelter and been spending time with people and getting to observe them and getting to hear their stories and understanding the why, where, or the what ifs and what have you. I want to finish by showing you also is that when people come on board, what's going to happen is they're going to be assigned a pod. Okay. And when they open the curtains to their pod, there's going to be a fresh t-shirt there for them and a fresh pair of socks. Now, some people will say, well, they haven't had showers. Well, that would be lovely, but there's so much that has to happen here. Truth is, the biggest challenges you have with BO is from the waist up and when the shoes come off. So we're going to put a fresh pair of socks on them and a t-shirt for them to sleep in. And then they'll also find there will be a bag there with a bottle of water and a sandwich. We're not going to be in a position to give them a full meal. We're not doing a picnic inside the bus, but this gets a little something in their stomach, a little hydration, which they typically always need, and then we're ready to go. And we come in as the sun is going down. so very quietly. So by the time we pull into one of our host sites, which is typically a church, we're coming in as it's dark. And as that sun starts to peek over the horizon, we are pulling out. And one or two things are going to happen. They will either be taken back to where we got them, or if it's an outreach day, they will be brought into outreach so they can get the showers, the haircuts, the laundry service, the medical care, the mental health care, all the other things that we offer. I will also say is that if you're going to come on our bus, those days when we have the shower, you're going to shower, or you're going to forfeit your position in the bus. That's just how it works. If for some reason someone misses their reservation, they go to the end of the line because they just cheated somebody else out of a night's sleep. So we run a very tight ship like we do everything at Matthew Soap, but we also want to show a lot of grace. We want to show a lot of dignity in this, and I think we're going to be able to do it.
It sounds amazing. What has been the response by media, public officials, or maybe other organization like yours now that this concept has come to fruition?
You got anything, or do you want to just take it?
Well, you can take it and I'll add to it.
Well, here's what I'll say. The enthusiasm level is very high.
Yeah.
The challenge that you have is that you have a small group of people, the NIMBYs, not in my backyard, that are always trying to challenge everything. I always find it interesting when a NIMBY becomes homeless because that has happened before.
Oh
Yeah. It's very interesting. I've had people have told me I was that guy. And now they're a guest. It's challenging because we're always looking for a reason why something won't work.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
That's actually, I had a conversation with one of our fellow nonprofit workers last night about how, this is such a great idea, but it seems like they keep wanting to get in our way. And that's, that it's so frustrating because we've got this great idea. We're about to launch it, but somebody wants to get in our way.
Mm-hmm. I think that I tell people all the time, and I think this is true for the entire organization, we dwell on the possibilities. I can find you 100 reasons, almost everything, why it won't work. And if we did that, for those that are listening, you wouldn't have a toilet.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. You would not have air conditioning. You would not have, I can keep going all day long. You have to dwell on the possibilities and look at for the good of the entire community. Look, if we're taking people off the streets at night, that's good for the community as well as the people getting on board.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And people need to start looking at it differently. I have taken some phone calls and some nasty grams and some, different things where people have said, well, you ought to be, why aren't you just building buildings? It would be better.
Because people don't want them and people keep getting in our way.
And that's the thing. Every time someone talks about building a building, hell, here in Cocoa, I'm coming up almost 4 years to get my permitting for my transitional housing. It's been one thing after another. In 4 years, I could have had that project done 3 years ago and had people and families and young families with children sleeping in a building that is basically set empty while we go through this process. And we make everything so gosh darn difficult, mostly because the truth is most of our politicians are working for their funders. They're, and if there's a politician out there that can battle me on that, I would say, let me see your financials. Because you show me where your money's coming from, I will tell you where the vote is going to sway.
Yep.
That's not 100% true, but it is often very, very true. So, I think that the other thing is, people talk about what it cost. These buses, by the time we convert them, we're in it to about $200,000. Okay. I couldn't build anything. I couldn't build a foundation for a building for $200,000. Okay. It would cost millions. Also, it's something we can do relatively quick. One of the things when HB 1365 came out of Tallahassee, what they told everybody is that this was going to force people into getting the services they needed. And my response at the time was, well, those services don't exist. It was responded back to me, but Matthew's Hope does it. And I go, well, let me put this in perspective. I said, our budget's going to be roughly $15 million in the coming year. The entire budget for the state of Florida is $35 million. The math doesn't math. And that representative by the name of Randy Fine said to me, looked me right in the eye and said, you'll figure it out. Well, based on what? Figure it out based on what?
Yep.
Yeah, right.
Okay. And then
Like
what they
to know.
said, though, that the counties and the cities would come together. Do you know that county and city representatives rarely speak to each other? One city to another rarely talk to each other.
Yeah.
And because of our sunshine laws, most people don't realize this, but your commissioners can't talk to each other.
Isn't that the craziest thing?
Okay.
You're supposed to work together, but
So
you
it's
can't
like,
talk.
imagine, we're on the Space Coast here. Okay, imagine me saying to you, okay, Tracy, your division is going to make the capsule. Shelley, your division is going to do the thrusters. My division is going to do the landing, but we don't talk to each other.
Can't talk. So how are we going to?
First off, you ain't going to get the damn thing off the ground, much less bring it back from space. This is what we're dealing with. Again, sunshine laws are important, but we, like most things, we overdid it. Mm-hmm. So now you don't have commissioners talking to each other in the city. You don't have cities talking to each other, and you don't have cities and county people talking together. Now, what was supposed to happen is they agree on typically a county piece of property, and each city would put in some money to support it. But that encampment they talked about building could only be there for a year and then had to be moved.
Makes
Now,
a lot of sense.
I have built a number of projects just under Matthew's Hope. I mean, some people might remember one of my claims to fame in 1996 was to build a 38 square foot luxury home in one day. And I did it. And that kind of ruined me for the rest of my life because I
Ruin
didn't
the rest of
understand-
us.
I didn't understand why things couldn't get done. That's a true story. It was for the Miracle House, raising money for the Adam Walsh Foundation and the for children and exploited children. I can't remember the name of it anymore. But in any case, it's a project that I did, but all these projects take months, if not years, to develop. And then just to put the infrastructure in, the plumbing, the underground plumbing, electrical, the foundation, that could take a year by itself by the time it's done. And they're talking about doing all that because they said DCF will oversee it, which DCF is already overworked.
Right.
But DCF would oversee it, and it would have mental health care. It would have it'd have running showers. It would have restrooms. Okay, first off, if anybody was paying attention, that was impossible. It's not even physically possible to do, much less do it and then remove it in a year. So that's the kind of stuff we're dealing with. And this is why I tell people, since we're here, go to your local commission meetings, go to your county meetings, write letters and call your state senators and congressmen out of Tallahassee and ask them this. It's going on 2 years since HB 1365 became law. What's the plan? And if there's not a plan, why not? Because not here is not an answer. And that's the gist of why we're doing what we're doing.
Are there any sponsorship opportunities available to help fund the buses?
Absolutely. We actually sell sponsorships for the back of our buses. And we also have sponsorship opportunities in our magazine as well.
So we use the sponsorship opportunities to do two things. One, quite honestly, the back of our vehicles are moving billboards. So I come from a business background before I went into ministry. I spent 20 years in sales and marketing. So I realized that when I can help drive business towards somebody, they're more likely to work with me again in the future. So we don't make a lot of money off the sponsorship of the back, but with their logos. What it does do, though, is it shows community involvement. And, we have these vehicles running all over the entire county of Brevard and a good portion of Orange County, the west side of Orange County. It's a great marketing piece, quite honestly, but it does help us. And we have events that people could participate in. But even then, if somebody said, I wanted to give an example, our gas tanks are 193 gallons.
Well, I'm not good at math, but that's a lot of
That's a lot.
that's all
Okay.
gas money.
I can't do the math in my head right now. I'm not that good, but I know 193 gallons with diesel now being between $5.50 and $6 a gallon.
Dang.
Okay, and these get 7 miles to the gallon. Okay, yeah. So there's a lot that plays into this that people probably don't realize. But if somebody wanted to give us gas cards or sponsor a tank of gas or what
Okay.
have you, the beauty of it is Matthew's Hope, and this makes people sometimes uncomfortable. We're a marketing machine. We've got our own magazine, Moving Forward Magazine. We have this podcast that we have homeless people come on, people formerly homeless, politicians, law enforcement, you name it, we have them on here. People can sponsor this if they wanted to. There's just
Opportunities.
there's all kinds of opportunities that are, it's endless. If you want to help, we'll find a creative way for you to help.
Nice. You guys have anything you'd like to add before we wrap this up?
I think the biggest thing I want to stress is we have a need for more host sites.
Okay.
And what that looks like is we typically ask them to install a 50 amp reciprocal that we can plug into, because running the bus on electric is almost like plugging in a lamp. It's very cheap. Everything is LED. It's quiet. We ask for that. That's our preference, and access to restrooms. I will admit that when I bought the first bus, I knew it had a toilet. What I did not know is that it was a toilet similar to you'd find in a porta potty. Actually not. Porta potties have water down there.
Oh.
These do not have anything. So to bluntly put it, it's like pooping in a tin can and staying in it.
Ooh.
They are there for emergencies. So what we ask is that the host site, the church, whatever, give us access to a bathroom. The security personnel will escort them into the restroom, check it out after they leave to make sure everything's left as they found it, and then escort them back to the bus. That's important to know. We add them as an insured, a rider, so that we name them as insured because we're on their property. We also, guys can't get out. When I say guys, 35% of them are women, but the folks can't get out and have a smoke. They can't do anything. They come on, they go to sleep.
And I'm sure they're very
It's
grateful
there
just
for
want
rest.
to do that. Just
Right.
sleep.
Yeah, honestly, and Shelley can tell you, what happened when we opened up a shelter.
They ate their dinner and they said, let's set up the cots. We want to go to bed.
Mm.
And
People
people were
cry.
asleep by
Nobody's messing around.
7.
They're
No,
just there to
no.
get peaceful,
They
safe sleep.
Yep.
just want to rest, and quite honestly, they don't move until we tell them it's time to go.
And as we pointed out, the gas is very expensive. This is a very expensive endeavor for us to take on. So sustaining donors are so important. So if we could get more sustaining donors, that would be amazing. And
And to explain that a little further, what a sustaining donor is, and we're right coming in. We're at the beginning of summer, and summer is the toughest time for nonprofits and for churches. I jokingly often say that people love Jesus; they just love Jesus more in the fall. It's a struggle to get it through the summer, and so what we've asked our funders to do, our supporters, is consider becoming a sustaining donor with a monthly or quarterly gift that they spread throughout the year, so it makes it easier for us to budget throughout the year. Because there's nothing we do is a moneymaker outside of our Trinity Oaks of Matthew's Hope, which is our wedding venue that we're actually taping from today. But even that, that money pours right back into the ministry as a whole. And when you got to raise the kind of money we need to raise, if we can get our donors to consider becoming a sustaining donor, or businesses to become a community partner with us in some way, that is huge for making us not just make it through the summer, but to be able to make sure that we assure those that we serve are going to get the services they need year round.
That's so good. Well, there you have it, everybody. There's many opportunities to help Matthew's Hope in the community here. So thank you for sharing all the information about the sleeper bus. It's very exciting. Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening. Please like, share, and subscribe to this podcast to help us reach a larger audience.